At approximately 1 a.m. on Thursday, when most Americans were sleeping, Donald wrote a post on his failing social media site that read in part, quote, "Why does ABC fake news Jimmy Kimmel, a man with no talent and very poor television ratings, on the air? Why do the TV syndicates put up with it? Also, totally biased coverage. Get the bum off the air," unquote. Kimmel's opening monologue on Wednesday night had been about Donald's bracing for what Kimmel called Hurricane Epstein. Calling a network fake news simply because it won't cancel the show of a comedian Donald doesn't like is totally par for the course. He hates it when people are funnier and more successful than he is, and brooding about it has become something of a full-time job because, of course, everybody on the planet practically is funnier and more successful than he is. As we saw last week, after Donald called ABC News reporter Mary Bruce piggy and lashed out at Bloomberg reporter Jennifer Jacobs, he said that he was going to revoke ABC's broadcast license. He is not afraid to engage in increasingly misogynistic attacks against reporters or threaten networks that aren't, in his view, sufficiently loyal and complimentary. In an exclusive scoop, The Guardian reported that senior officials in the Trump regime have discussed encouraging Paramount Skydance to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery. Larry Ellison, Paramount Skydance's majority shareholder, is lobbying White House officials to approve the merger, and Ellison is willing to make changes in order to accommodate Donald's insecurities. It was back in June that Ellison's son David successfully merged his company, Skydance Media, with Paramount Global, creating Paramount Skydance. According to anonymous sources, quote, "Ellison often speaks to connections at the White House, but in at least one of the calls, engaged in a dialogue about possibly axing some of the CNN hosts whom Donald is said to loathe, including Aaron Burnett and Brianna Keilar," unquote. It's not news that Donald is openly hostile towards media companies that report accurately about him, but often with the complicity of those very media companies, he is slowly poisoning the entire media landscape. As we all know, Donald filed a lawsuit against Paramount's CBS for $60 billion. With the merger on the line and requiring federal approval, Paramount put corporate profits above journalistic integrity and settled by giving Donald $16 million. Puck News correspondent Dylan Byers discussed the politics behind this merger on PBS. Watch.
There's quite a bit of anxiety about a sort of pay-for-play regulatory environment, in which case, if you need any deal to get done, any merger, any acquisition, you might be forced to cough up. The number seems to be, whether it's Disney or Paramount, the number seems to be $16 million to the Trump presidential library. Now, this is one of those things that has the benefit of, there are a lot of, you can point to a settlement, you can point to FCC approval, you can point to the fact that those came within days of each other, and that the regulatory review process for this took a lot longer than it otherwise might have. And you can draw your own conclusions there. But of course, this is one of those things where without the hard evidence, without the smoking gun, it's the sort of thing that the administration and the FCC is going to be able to get away with.
And that, of course, brings us back to the issue of complicity. Donald could not be getting away with what he's getting away with in terms of stacking the deck in his favor, making sure that media treat him in a particular way and spin things in his favor. The real problem, though, something that our friend and fellow nerd avenger Brian Karem talks about all the time, control of the media is in an increasingly small number of hands. Larry Ellison basically threw the keys of Skydance over to his entitled son, David, and David now controls a vast media conglomerate, which will become even more vast if Larry Ellison's plan, and quite frankly, Donald's, is carried out. But before we go on, now more than ever, we need to support independent media. Please like and share this video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to Mary Trump Media channel. Because corporate media continues to capitulate to Donald, all because they value corporate profits more than anything else, including American democracy, we have to find other ways to inform the American people. Because, as these corporate media conglomerates have made clear, they're not interested in that anymore. They are not interested in journalism. They are not interested in showcasing the facts in an unbiased way. They are not interested in protecting this country's people from fascism. That's where independent media comes in. There are many independent media outlets out there. Some have grown and become more influential. Others are just starting out. That is where we need to place our trust and, quite frankly, our support, because independent media is the future. America and other countries across the world can no longer afford to be beholden to the greed of corporate media. We can no longer trust the executives at media corporations to do the right thing if they believe it's going to cost them money. So that is why we here at Mary Trump Media believe that it is incredibly important to support outlets like Mary Trump Media. We are beholden to absolutely nobody but you. We do not owe anybody anything but the truth and facts presented in a way that is objective and unbiased to the extent that that's possible. Obviously, I have an opinion about things. I'm not a journalist, but we do our jobs here. We fact check. We make sure that any information you get is as accurate as it possibly can be. And then, yes, I give you my assessment. I give you my opinion. I give you my analysis. That's what we do here. So there are many other independent media outlets to support as well. But if you're thinking about it, start here, because the work we do is incredibly important to us. We have the most important election of our lifetime coming up next year, and an even more important one coming up in 2028. So please help us do the work to make sure that the American people have in front of them all of the information, the accurate information they need to make the right choice. Please take a second and like and share this video. It'd be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating, because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.